Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to Post Cologne. Today I'm going to be unboxing 3 new Middle Eastern fragrances. So let's jump into it. Alright, so we are back with another unboxing first impressions video of 3 new Middle Eastern fragrances that I recently got in from Perfumes Online. I'm going to have links down in the description if you decide you want to check any of these out. Also have a coupon code, save yourself $5 off your first purchase at Perfumes Online if you decide you want to shop with them. Got a decent haul in right now. I got an Afnan, I got a Maison Alhambra, and I got a Lattafa to check out. So let's quit screwing around. Let's get into it. All right, so we're gonna kick things off from the house of Lattafa. And this is one that I don't hear many people talk about. So I was curious when I saw this online and the price was right. It's Lattafa's Abiyedh leather. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Abiyedh. Correct me down in the comments if I completely butchered that, but there's a few of these. There's the Rouge, there's the original, all those kind of ones. There's like Baccarat Rouge clones and all that, but I don't hear many people talk about the leather one. So quite curious as to what this one's like. I do like me a good leather fragrance, so let's bust into this, figure out if it's a good leather fragrance. All right, so there we have the box presentation of Lattafa's Abiyedh leather. Pretty straightforward cardboard box. It does have this kind of window that's in there. Name of the fragrance. It does have a bit of a textured kind of cardboard to it. All the necessaries on the back. And it does kind of have a slide off cover like so, revealing yet another cardboard box, which is pretty straightforward. Name of the fragrance right there. More necessaries on the back. So overall, pretty straightforward cardboard box, nothing to it. So let's check out what the bottle's like. All right, so there we go. There's the bottle presentation for Abiyedh leather. Nice looking bottle, nice thick glass to this. I like that kind of, I always like these kind of thick bases to these bottles. I don't know, it gives them just kind of a certain gentlemanly feel almost, or like a classic sort of feel. Cap on this, really cheap plastic. This is very lightweight. Feels like I could crush this with my hand if I'm not careful. Does have some kind of bedazzled jewels kind of along the side there. Lattafa logo sitting on top. And the bottle, name of the fragrance, has kind of a cool ornament pattern up there. So overall, bottle presentation, pretty straightforward, but nice classy looking bottle at least. And the atomizer on this makes a few pumps. Good long sprays, good distribution. Overall, a pretty good looking presentation for $18. But what does this smell like? Right off the jump, before even getting this on paper, smelling it in the air from testing that atomizer, it's a leather fragrance. Who would have thought this would be a leather fragrance? But very leather forward right off the jump. But it does have like a certain level of kind of freshness right now. There's like a greenness to it in the air. It's like kind of a light leather at this very moment. So it's enjoyable in the air, but let's get it on paper, see what we're dealing with. So right out the gate, like I said, this is a leather style fragrance, but it has some nice kind of spice, touch of sweetness going on, a little bit of a bitter sweetness going on to it. Almost kind of like a little bit of like a green bittersweet. It has this kind of pink pepper note going on there. So it gives you kind of a little bit of a nose tickle from the spice, but it's also got a little bit of sweetness. But like I said, it is a leather style fragrance, but a nice mix of some spice and some kind of green forward notes coming through. So this is an interesting style of leather. As this is kind of opening up and developing a little bit more, it's got this kind of nice like sparkling sort of citrus note going on to it. I believe there's some ginger in here, so that ginger's kind of coming forward. It's also mixing with some more green notes. It's giving it kind of like a bit of a fresh, clean, but also kind of a powdery, dry style of leather that's coming through. This is quite nice. It's not a heavy leather at this moment in the initial 5 minutes that this has kind of been sprayed on paper. Really quite lovely. Yeah, very nice kind of citrus, green, dry leather style of course starting to develop here. This is a very nice kind of fresh, clean style of leather. Let's skip to the dry down, see how this kind of comes together, how it develops, but so far this is a very nice leather fragrance. All right, so we are back with the dry down of Lattafa's Abiyedh leather. It's been just about an hour now. I've let this kind of settle down, come into its own. And it hasn't changed a whole lot, but there is a little bit more personality that's come through. And this is a very nice leather fragrance. It has this kind of dustiness to it now, a little bit more kind of like a smoky wood accord has come through, but it still holds that very nice kind of that green leather kind of feel, like a little bit of citrus has kind of remained. This iris note that's in it has given it this dustiness, and that amber has kind of given it that smoky wood accord. Really, really nice. It still has this kind of freshness to it, so it still feels kind of like almost like a new leather wallet's sort of vibe to it, but it has a little bit more kind of, like I said, some greenness coming through, so some like bittersweet aromatic nature added to it with that kind of smoky accord that's working into it with the wood. So it's not a brand new leather wallet, but it's like a new-ish kind of leather wallet. It's a really nice leather accord. It is a little bit different. It's nothing too mind-blowing in terms of like leather fragrances. This isn't like super unique, but it is very, very pleasant, and I'm really enjoying this one. And this is not quite leaping off the paper, but it is a fairly strong leather fragrance at this point. So I think the performance on this is going to be pretty good. I'm gonna have to get this on skin, obviously, and give it a test, but for $18, this is a pretty high quality juice that we got going on here. Really enjoying this one. Definitely gonna be giving this a wear, giving it a full review. I'm surprised not many people talk about this one, because so far, really liking this one. Definitely worth checking out. That's Lattafa's Abiyedh leather. All right, up next we got one from the House of Afnan, and this is one I don't see many people talking about either. So again, I was very curious to see what it's all about. That's Afnan's Ornament pour Homme. Now I scooped this bad boy up for $30 at Perfumes Online, and I don't know, I kind of bought it because the bottle looked interesting. That's about it. I'm a bit of a child. Let's dig into this. All right, so there we have the box presentation of Afnan's Ornament pour Homme. It's got kind of a nice texture to it. It is a nice thick cardboard to this. Nothing too crazy about the front graphics on that. It's pretty straightforward. All the necessaries on the back, and it does have, ooh, it's not even a slide off. It's kind of like a, I don't even know what you call that. It's like a Zippo is basically what that's like. So that's actually a nice little twist. I kind of like that. I thought that was going to be a pull-off. And inside we have the bottle. So overall, the box presentation, this is quite nice actually. I wasn't expecting that, so I'm not going to throw that box because it's pretty. Look at this bottle though. This kind of reminds me of, this is going to age me a little bit, but like the game Space Invaders, maybe even like a little bit of a Tetris vibe going on here. But it is kind of a heavy bottle, kind of a nice thick glass to it. It does have this kind of plastic covering on it that is not a metal. But yeah, very kind of interesting. I kind of like that pattern on there. It's different. It's different, that's for sure. Cap on this is a very lightweight, cheap plastic. It's got a little thickness to us, but I don't know, I could crush that with my hand if I was going to be really trying to show off my strength here. Atomizer on this. It's well, that's a little bit better. Really wide puffs on this. Like I think one spray of this could cover my entire torso, and it does go out fairly far, but not sure how I feel about the atomizer overall, but it'll get the job done for sure. But what does this smell like? So again, I'm smelling this in the air just from testing that atomizer. I haven't got this on paper yet, but immediately my brain went to Azzaro's Wanted, and now it's kind of reminding me a little bit of Stronger With You, and there's like a little bit of like an Invictus vibe going on. It's a very familiar scent profile to this so far, and in that kind of designer realm and of like those fragrances I said, I don't know, it's like a mix of Stronger With You and Wanted. Let's get this on paper. Let's see what we're dealing with. I will say this is a little awkward to spray. You gotta have a wide grip on this sucker. Very sweet style of opening. It has this apple in the opening, so that kind of gives off that a little bit of that kind of Invictus sort of vibe. I wouldn't say this is like an Invictus clone right away, but it has that kind of scent profile going to it. Also a little bit of aromatics in there, so some geranium that's mixing in there, giving it kind of a green, slightly kind of minty spice sort of profile, and some kind of clean lavender. Very sort of sweet, aromatic, got that kind of fresh spicy vibe going on to it. Like I said, this is kind of has that kind of more of an Invictus-y style of opening right now. When I was smelling it in the air, that Wanted and the Stronger With You, that's not so much off the paper at this moment, it's just getting real close in this first couple minutes, but very enjoyable, mass appealing, crowd pleasing style of scent accord. Got that kind of designer, designer mass appeal style of scent accord going on right now. So it is quite nice, very fresh, very sweet, very kind of fresh spicy. As this is starting to open up a little bit more, I am getting a little bit more wood starting to come through, a little bit of cedar that's starting to work its way in. I can detect a little bit of sandalwood, and there's also a little bit of earthy patchouli that's starting to work its way in. So it's balancing off that kind of initial that apple sweet blast along with that kind of sweet, clean lavender and that little bit of fresh, spicy geranium. So it is kind of moving away from that Invictus style of fragrance, and it's moving into kind of its own thing at this moment. Yeah, as this is developing, it's getting a lot less of that kind of fresh sweetness, and it is starting to get a little bit more earthy, a little bit more woody. So this is changing fairly quickly, actually. Very nice. This is rather unique. This is kind of doing its own thing. Like I said, I kind of was getting reminded of like 3 different styles of kind of mass appeal designer fragrances, but it has elements of all those kind of fragrances mixed in there, but it is doing its own thing. It's moving in its own direction. This is very nice. Let's skip to the dry down, see how this kind of fully develops. But so far from that opening to the first kind of like 5-10 minutes here, it's really kind of moved fairly quickly. So I am curious to see what this is going to do, but definitely enjoying this one. All right, so we are back with the dry down of Afnan's Ornament pour Homme. Been just over an hour now. I've let this kind of settle down, kind of develop into its own thing, and this one has become a lot more kind of like the Azzaro Wanted I mentioned at the very beginning. That Stronger With You vibe's kind of gone. The Invictus-y nature of it is still kind of there, but I think it's kind of got more of that more of Azzaro Wanted. But I don't think this is a direct clone or a dupe necessarily. It could be kind of a twist on that. It's got a little bit more woods than the Azzaro Wanted. It still has that kind of fresh, kind of really like apple-y sweetness to it, but it does have that kind of clean lavender that's mixed in there with those spices, but it's a little bit darker. It's a little bit, again, woodier, almost a little bit heavier than the Azzaro Wanted. The Azzaro Wanted was very sweet, very sort of kind of bright style of fragrance. This one's got a little bit of a dark nature to it, a little bit of a twist to it with more of those woods coming through, and it's really quite nice. Got a little bit of earthiness too. That patchouli's kind of come through a little bit more, mixing with those wood accords. So again, it has that kind of a little bit more heaviness, a little bit more darkness than the Azzaro Wanted, but it still maintains that kind of fresh sweetness to it. It's, I wouldn't say necessarily unique. It's still got that mass appeal sort of designer style fragrance going to it, but it is got that kind of nice twist off of those kind of more commonly known fragrances. So I'm really enjoying this one. This is going to be a great kind of spring fragrance. This might be a little too heavy in the high heat. Because of that sweetness, it might be a little bit too much, but I'm definitely gonna be wearing it in the spring, test it out in the high heat because I'm a bit of a glutton for punishment and for science. We'll see what it does. But really enjoying this one. I'm surprised not many people talk about this one because it is a very enjoyable fragrance and it is pretty strong. Like of all the fragrances I've tested so far, this is the one that's kind of filling up the room at the moment. So we'll see what the performance is like on this one, but I have high hopes and I think we're gonna do very well. So really happy with this one for $30 at Perfumes Online. I think this was a winner. Definitely worth checking out. That's Afnan's Ornament pour Homme. All right, last, but certainly not least, I hope, because I haven't smelt this one yet, it's Maison Alhambra's Porto Neroli. Now I scooped this bad boy up for $18 at Perfumes Online, and I don't think they're really trying to hide what they're doing here. It's a clone inspired by, no, it's a clone, of Tom Ford's Neroli Portofino. So, I don't know, I'm excited. This is the first of these kind of Maison Alhambra Tom Ford clones that I've gotten my nose on, so excited to see how they did with this one. So, let's bust into it. All right, so there we have the box presentation of Maison Alhambra's Porto Neroli. Nice box, got a nice thick cardboard to it. It does have kind of a nice kind of, I don't know, dot pattern sort of texture to it. So it adds a little bit of extra character to it. It's not just a plain cardboard box. All your necessaries on the back and some nice kind of gold trim here for this slide off top to it. So overall, nice box presentation sitting in this podium rather tight. And it does have that kind of Tom Ford style of bottle. Like I said, they're not really trying to hide it. Nice thick glass on this, cap on this, decent thick acrylic plastic to this. So that is pretty good. Maison Alhambra logo sitting on the top there. And atomizer on this. Pretty good atomizer on this. Nice long sprays, decent distribution. So overall presentation on this, pretty good. But what does this smell like? So right off the jump, what you're getting is what you'd expect from this Tom Ford clone, the Neroli Portofino, is a lot of neroli, a lot of citruses up in the air. It's gorgeous. Some people don't like the note of neroli. I personally really like the note of neroli. I just find it very fresh and invigorating and just has that kind of nice citrus zestiness to it with that little bit of sweetness that mixes in there. Big fan of neroli, so that's why I picked this up. That's part of the reason. But let's get this on paper, see what we're dealing with. Yeah, so as you'd expect, this is a very citrus, neroli forward style of fragrance, and it's really nice. The citrus combinations in this, quite nice. You get that mandarin, you get some orange, there's kind of a lemon vibe going on there, mixing with that neroli. It's got this bitter sweetness to it, this kind of rindy, zesty sort of like peel, like a citrus peel sort of vibe going on to it, giving it that kind of zesty forward nature, giving it a little zip, a little pizzazz. But there is some nice kind of sweetness that's working in there. It's coming from that neroli a little bit, and there is some of that kind of white floral that's slowly moving in through the background. The florals in this are very gentle, they're very soft, they're kind of just easing their way through that kind of citrus accord right now, and it's really quite lovely. I'm really liking that mix of that neroli, that citrus, that white floral that's coming through. Very, very fresh, summery, spring style of vibe coming through right now, really nice. It's got a bit of an effervescent nature to it, so it's got like a little bit of kind of a sparkle to it, and it's also got a little bit of a little bit of a kind of like a dusty, ambery sort of feel coming through just from the base starting to work its way in. But that citrus and that white floral are kind of the stars of the show at the moment, but that added texture, that added kind of ambery, dusty sort of vibe to it, as well as that kind of sparkling nature from the citrus is giving this a nice bit of character to it, giving it some texture on top of that kind of soft floral and that kind of bright, zesty citrus. Getting a little freshness and a little bit of kind of some like mineral, kind of aquatic sort of vibes starting to work its way through. This is really nice. This is kind of really kind of evolving slowly, but it is evolving, kind of like new notes coming through, starting to kind of stand out, mixed together. Very, very enjoyable. I'm digging this one so far. Let's skip to the dry down, see how this all comes together, but so far, very impressed. All right, we're back with the dry down of Maison Alhambra's Porto Neroli. Been just over an hour now. Let this settle down, let it do its thing. This is so good. I really, really like this. If you are a fan of neroli, you're going to like this fragrance. Really bright, fresh, clean style of neroli, and it has those nice kind of jasmine white florals that are mixed in there. Little hint of that aquatic note. The aquatics aren't really forward. This isn't like an aquatic style fragrance, but it just adds like a little bit of kind of like a kiss of mineral, a kiss of that kind of salty aquatic sort of vibe. Sitting in the background, if anything, it kind of accentuates the citrus nature, the neroli note that's coming through with this one. Really fresh, clean, bright, sweet. It's got this, again, this kind of cool, fresh lavender that's in the background as well. It's got this herbal nature to it as well that's kind of come through a little bit, so it's got a little bit more kind of a grassy feel, kind of like a wet grass or like a fresh cut grass kind of sitting behind that neroli, that citrus, that jasmine. Again, adding to that kind of just nice green sort of nature to this, but again, very citrus heavy, very neroli forward, and it has that perfect balance, sweet notes of those white florals. Absolutely gorgeous. This is going to be fantastic in the spring. Definitely going to be a summer banger. I can't wait to wear this one once it gets a little bit warmer outside here. This just smells like a beautiful spring day. Oh, can't stop smelling the paper. Beautiful fragrance. Really, really glad I picked this one up. I think Maison Alhambra did a fantastic job, and for the price point of $18, I think this is a steal. Pending performance, we'll see how this performs. This is pushing off the paper fairly well, but it is that freshy kind of citrus style of fragrance, so this might not be a beast mode performer, but I'll reapply this one because the scent accord on this is absolutely fantastic. Definitely going to do a full review of this one. Awesome pickup. Really glad I got this one. That's Maison Alhambra's Porto Neroli. So there you have it. That's 3 new Middle Eastern fragrances that I recently got in. My first impressions, the unboxing, the whole shebang. Pretty impressed with this haul. I hope you guys enjoy these videos. I love doing these unboxing, first impression videos for you guys, kind of riffing off the cuff, giving you like a real-time kind of experience of what I'm experiencing with these. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. And I want to hear from you guys. Which one of these fragrances do you think I should do a full review on first? And which one do you think you would like the most? Comment down below. Love hearing from you guys. Love getting your different points of view. Appreciate you. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see y'all next time.